Hello everyone, welcome to Dark Souls Remastered. This is going to be a casual walkthrough, I guess, for those who haven't played the game before maybe, and if you have, of course, you might enjoy it still. I'm not an expert at the game, so I'm going to try to be as informative as I can, but I'm probably gonna miss a lot of stuff. I try to do research though, so I'll do my best for sure. Yeah, so this is the character creation screen, obviously. And it's the first part of, I guess, most action RPGs. I don't know, I've not really played a ton of them. But, you know, it's an RPG. You create a character, a class, you have stats that you level up. There's a bunch of different classes to choose from here. Here are 10 you can choose from, and they all have different starting stats and levels. Now, the class you choose won't really make a difference in the long run. But if you know for a fact that you want to play as a certain character, you might as well choose the class you want to start with. Or if you want to use a master key early on, you want to use the thief because it starts with it. You actually get to choose the master key as a gift if you want to as well. So you don't have to choose the thief to use the master key, but if you choose the thief, you will get a master key either way. Yeah, so obviously they all specialize in different areas. This bandit specializes in strength and endurance. But as you level up, you can choose to allocate your points however you like. Almost. Really basically, yeah. I'm going to go over the stats very briefly now, I guess. Vitality is as easy as it's your hit points. Attunement is a stat that will let you carry more spells and pyromancies and miracles when you level it up. Not like level by level, but there are some caps that you need to pass to get certain attunement slots, they're called. Endurance is for equipment load, and a higher equipment load basically will let you carry heavier stuff while not sacrificing your movement speed and dodging speed. The strength is one of the attack stats. It will let you use pretty much, strength is for heavy weapons, I would say, and dexterity is for more like special weapons that don't require a lot of strength, but I mean they call it advanced, so yeah, let's use that terminology. It will also let you, if you're like a ranger and you want to use a bow, like raising your dexterity is good for that too. Resistance is a fairly useless stat that most people suggest you don't level up. It will increase resistance, obviously, to certain things like auxiliary effects mainly. There's the intelligence that, I don't know, did I mention it? If you increase intelligence, you will be able to cast stronger sorceries, and faith is the same but for miracles. Now I think sorceries are mainly offensive and miracles are for like healing and that. I haven't really used either that much, although if you're new I think people suggest you start as a sorcerer or a pyromancer, because sorcerers will be using ranged attack mainly. I guess I'm not really used to playing with these like sturdy characters. I guess I will go for the knight though. I've never done that before, so this will be interesting. And like I said, you can choose the master key if you want, but here are a bunch of starting gifts you can choose from. You can also choose none if you want to. A lot of these you will be able to find quite easily in the game, some later than others. But the Old Witch's Ring is quite annoying to get. It won't necessarily be useful to everyone, depending on what you want to do. But I mean, since the other ones can be acquired fairly easily, like Twin Humanities can even be dropped by certain enemies if you have the DLC, or if you have the remastered version or the Prepare to Die version, you'll have the DLC baked in. But yeah, the Old Witch's Ring I'll go with. It will help you talk to an NPC later, and if you don't get it now, like, good luck figuring out how to get it if you don't use a guide. This stuff doesn't really affect anything. I guess because I'm sturdy, I might as well be very large as well. The sex doesn't matter either, neither does the name. I guess actually the sex doesn't matter if you're a speedrunner and you want to do an easy mode move swap, but whatever, I don't know much about that. So, the funny part about this is we can place Ryan Reynolds if we want to, but we can only give him very ugly hairstyles. I don't like any of these, so I guess I will go with the semi-long. And we can give him dark purple, but really if you want to change your character, you can just, do this a bunch. And I will morph into some cool character, I guess. Alright, see ya. Now this is very disturbing, so I will go with that. And let's... Oh, you can also, if you want to, actually I'll show this. You can customize your... all your facial features and everything, but mainly the most important thing is changing your hair color. And I kind of like that, so let's go with that. Right now, let's start the game. Again, the appearance does nothing. Now, I will talk over this intro cutscene. If you don't want to hear me talk over it, you can, I don't know, look it up elsewhere. But Dark Souls has quite confusing lore, and a lot of it is hidden. Most of it is hidden in like item descriptions. I guess that's not hidden, but I guess quite weird ways to get to it. I don't know. The Dark Souls community have some theories, and if you look up Dark Souls lore on the Dark Souls wiki, which I will actually use a bit for information in this walkthrough playthrough, a lot of it's just fan theories. Some more reasonable than others, perhaps. Most of it's based on facts, I guess. I don't know if most of it is, but I would hope so. I'm not even sure I can, like, give a quick rundown on the lore. It's cool, though.
The first of the dead.
Beautiful, very attractive. We all like that appearance right there.
The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights.
That's a lot of black knights right there.
And the furtive pygmy, so easy.
Very difficult enemies. Not the furtive pygmies, the black knights. I don't know why I paused so long before I said that.
With the strength of lords.
Yeah, so all the characters that she mentioned basically challenge the dragons to end the... which will eventually end the Age of Dragons and begin the Age of Fire? Yeah, Seed's a dragon, but without scales, so he looks disgusting. Also, how do you fly with those wings? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Thus began the Age of Fire.
Which is where we are now, but it's like, I guess dying out? I don't know.
But soon
yeah.
The flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Hey, look, it's the hero symbol. Nah, I don't know. It's just when I see the Dark Souls logo, for some reason I just think of the hero the hero, well, the show Heroes. I think of the heroes, the superheroes. No. Yay, loading screen. And it went from very clearly pre-rendered to very clearly not pre-rendered, but that's fine. Look at the fire. The fire will not look this good if you're playing the Prepare to Die edition, but whatever, it's fine.
And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north.
Oh, these characters do not look very healthy, do they?
Are locked away to await the
I guess
end
that's
of the world.
one of the cons of being undead. You don't look particularly healthy. And here's us.
This is your fate.
We don't seem to be looking as healthy either, if you remember the skin tone in the starting menu. Yeah, look at that skin. It's like, yeah, ugh, what is that? We don't have eyes either. So obviously the first part of the game you'll have to play with a blindfold because your character can see either. Hey, there's an elite knight. That's the armor set anyway. He gave us a corpse, which is a very nice gift, but this corpse does have the dungeon cell key, which we can use to open this. So, the dark sign, you can already read some item descriptions for lore if you want to. The dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. So just don't lose your mind and you won't go hollow. Some people give up though, which, I mean, absolutely fair enough. What a horrible existence. Death triggers a dark sign which returns its spirit to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. Yeah, we'll get to that later, but when you die, you will lose all humanity and souls, which, you know, is fine unless you die twice without picking them up. We'll get to that later. There's some tutorial messages right here. Now these enemies, I mean, I wouldn't even call them enemies because they don't attack you back. Those are regular hollows. Now they don't look so horrible now, but trust me, especially when you're not used to the game, they can be vicious, honestly. They're the weakest enemy of the game, but don't mess with them too much. Target lock and release. Yeah, you can do that as well. And if you, how do you say it? Push forward and R or your right trigger at the same time, depending on your controller. I'm playing with an Xbox controller right now. You can do a jumping attack. Now, as you can see, because we have very heavy armor, we are not rolling particularly quickly. I usually play with any armor that just lets me roll fast. So this is going to be a bit of a change of pace for me. Again, you can basically make a character however you want. You're not going to be stuck with this forever. If you want to, you can also just remove all the armor. Except for the helmet, if you want to look that way. But this is our body right now. And yeah, like I said, we do not look particularly healthy. Let's open this door though. I don't know if I show this, but oh my god, what's that? If you exit your cell and look to the right, there will be something that looks very much like this, but isn't this. It's it's not a demon. Now, as you can see, we're not doing a whole lot of damage to it, so you're not meant to fight it. So I won't. You're just meant to, run here, and that will close, and the demon won't be able to attack you. So bonfires, I forgot to say this on the first bonfire, stupid me. They are checkpoints, and when you die, you will be revived at the last checkpoint you rested at. You can't do much in these bonfires, but later on, you will be able to do a bit more. Shields are great. Oops. They have, well, they have attack, I guess, apparently, but mainly their only use really is damage reduction. So yeah, that's in percentage. So you can see that the physical damage reduction of this shield is 100%, which means that if we take absolutely no damage whatsoever when using it. Here's the ring, by the way, that we started with. What can we read about this? All ring from an old witch, engraved minutely with indecipherable script, but seemingly useless. It will be for quite a while. What else can I say about this? I mean, the stat screen is kind of massive. I guess I'll go over it. So the left side has the attack stats, basically. Not too useful with shields unless you, for some reason, decide to attack with one. I don't know why you would do that, but I guess there are some shields that can attack that you can attack with. They have a parameter bonus, which means that, well, you can compare the icon to the icons on your far right there. Parameter bonus with a very early letter in the alphabet will mean that the weapon actually scales with that weapon. Now, it's not very relevant for shields. You can see it's more relevant for the straight sword hilt, which also, oh, it actually follows you? What the hell? Let me deal with this thing. Sorry, I'm like doing a lot at once. I did not know he would follow you if you were slow. That's funny. Yeah. All the shields have some form of physical reduction, magic reduction, fire reduction, lightning reduction, and stability. And the stability will make it so the amount of stability will determine how well you take hits and how easily you get staggered and lose stamina as you absorb hits. Now, when we went up there was a boulder falling down. There's going to be a few of those traps. And it actually broke into the wall. And here this guy is, who helped us, well, gave us the key.
Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid.
We don't know his name, but if you look up some Dark Souls, what was it, like old files, you can see that his name is Oscar, but it's not used, so I guess it's not technically canon.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission.
Unfortunately, he had a mission.
You can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords."
I wonder what they'll call that land of ancient lords. A land where lords used to run?
Well, now you know.
Interesting.
And I
I wonder what they will call it.
Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite.
Okay, cool. That's the potion
Oh, and this.
equivalent to this game. And there's another key that we need to use to open a door.
I would hate to harm you after death. So go now. And thank you.
Now, Estus, you only have 5 Estus. They will be consumed. Also, Oscar died, but he will go hollow, but not quite so soon. Like, we won't have to deal with him for now, hint hint. This is a shortcut. There's going to be a lot of shortcuts, and there's going to be a lot of traps in Dark Souls. I guess more shortcuts than traps, though. Well, I don't know, now that I think about it. I was rudely interrupted when explaining this, but I guess I only had a few more things to say. If I forget something, I'm sorry. Yeah, stability determines... I'm really sorry for moving on. Stability determines poise, and the poise is the term for how well you take hits and whether you will get staggered or not, basically, after a certain amount of hits taken or stability lost, or stamina lost, sorry. The durability determines how soon your weapon will, or shield or armor, any equipment basically, will break, and when it breaks, it's not going to be very efficient. The weight is directly related to the equipment load that I mentioned earlier. And the heavier weight that you have, the slower you will roll. Now luckily, because we start with a decent endurance stat, we actually have a decent equipment load, as you can see right there. Right now it's at 50. And what is it? Is it at 70%? If you surpass 70%, you will have a very slow roll. And if you go over the equipment load, you basically can't move at all. You will move very slowly and won't really be able to roll either. I didn't mention the sword that much. Now this is arguably more important than the shields, because you might not always use a shield. You will always use a weapon though, whether it be a broadsword for melee or something else for melee, or like I said, if you're a sorcerer. Now here the left side is a lot more important than the right side. There's the physical damage and some other damage depending on your weapon. The broadsword is purely physical, so are most swords in the game, I would argue. It has quite a high parameter bonus, which means that if you scale your stat, I didn't say that, did I? If you increase your stat, the weapon will do a lot more damage, and it will do more damage depending on what the parameter bonus is. Now there are some weapons that don't have a parameter bonus, which means that they will always do the same amount of damage regardless of how much you raise your stat. There are other ways to improve weapon strength though. Right down on the lower left you can see auxiliary effects. Right now we can see that there's a 0 by the bleeding symbol and 0 by the poison symbol, which means there's no auxiliary effect for this. It's just a big ass sword carried by a big ass knight. Oh, also hollows and all enemies can actually drop weapons or any kind of equipment really. Now we can go here. This is a fog wall. Now the last fog wall didn't really take us anywhere interesting. Most fog walls, I think, maybe not most, but a lot of fog walls. Usually there will be a fog wall. Well, there will always be a fog wall before a boss, but usually that's what a fog wall will indicate. So, if there is a fog wall, expect there to be a boss, although not every time. I'm sorry, it's a bit confusing, but there's always exceptions to everything. And you know what? For this fight, I guess I'm not gonna be carrying all that. Yeah, you can see how different this is. I'm still moving quite slowly though, because this armor is very heavy. Look at that, weight of 4, weight of almost 11. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, we're rolling very quickly with this, so I will actually do this. So I'm pretty sure that there's a message for this somewhere, but when you're attacking with the sword just holding it in one hand like that, you do regular damage, but you can actually dual wield it, and if you do that, you do 50% more damage. And there you can see, yeah, if you a little bit of a hint. Right bumper while falling, and you do a plunging attack, and that will do, I don't know how much more damage, a ton more. Anyway, now it's time for the first boss battle of Dark Souls. It could have been... we could have not had to do this. If you kill the Asylum Demon on the first encounter, you won't have this fight right here, of course. But the most common thing is to just skip the first attempt and just do it now, because now you have a proper weapon, you can have a proper fight, you know. So this is a boss bio, and I will have this right before every boss in the game. Very inspired by Sugar Conway, of course. So yeah, all the bosses have weaknesses. They all drop something when you kill them, and they all have a certain number of attacks. And they all also have health, of course. The weaknesses differ between bosses. Now, the Black Knight weapons, you can see there in the bottom, that weakness isn't really important right now. I was debating if I should even have that in here, because this is more of a New Game Plus thing. But if you have a Black Knight weapon in New Game Plus, the some demon would be weak against that too. Fire is interesting if you're like a pyromancer right now, or if you have the black fire bombs. You might have regular fire bombs, although not at this point unless you're in New Game Plus. The bleed damage is also interesting. That is most relevant, I think, if you're... It might be if you're Wanderer as well. I'm pretty sure it might just be the Thief right now, though. I think the Bandit Knife has the bleed effect as an auxiliary effect, which will... It works in the sense that, in the way that when you do a number of attacks on it, the boss will like, or the enemy will lose a chunk of HP. I think it's what, 10%? And that's what bleed does. So you build up a bleed meter, and then when that's filled up, you just do a chunk of damage. And that's great, and one of the Silent Demon's weaknesses, of course. The slash damage is just, I mean, a lot of weapons have that. It's a regular attacking style. You can see next to the name of the weapon, I'm pretty sure, what type of damage it has. Whether it can be like thrust, for example. But slash is fairly common. And sometimes the thrusting weapon can have slash as a heavy attack style, basically. So the drops are the other important parts of a boss fight. Mainly just, I mean, you will find that out eventually, but why not show it here? So all bosses drop quite a large number of souls, which is the currency of the game. And they also drop 1 humanity. I will go over this in the next episode once we can like restore humanity on that. The big pilgrim's key is just the door key, because we can't exit the arena right now. And the Demon's Great Hammer. Now this is in parentheses because you will only get the Demon's Great Hammer if you kill it on the first attempt, basically. When you see it for the first time. Only then can you get the Demon's Great Hammer. Either by using like the black fire bombs, if you chose that as a first starting gift, or if you're just so very patient and just do 2 damage at a time for, what's that, like 415 hits almost. The next stat right there, or stat, more of a information dump, is the attacks. Now the names don't really tell you a whole lot, except for, I guess, a ground pound and platform destruction. The ground pound is exactly what it sounds like. He flies up in the air for a bit and then smashes his butt on the ground. The platform destruction is quite relevant if you're standing around on the platform not knowing what to do. For example, not doing the plunging attack that we just saw. And if you do that for too long, he will just destroy the platform and you fall down under it. The hammer drive. Hammer drive is, well, I'm reading right from the wiki now. It's an attack that happens if you're standing right in front of him. You can't block it. He will raise his hammer vertically, and then just move out of the way. It's not too terrible to dodge if you just dodge at the right time. And finally, the long range hammer is when you're quite like far away from the demon, for example, like you're in the other side of the room, or just not where he would normally hit you. He will raise the club above the head and then just move straight forward, do a long range attack with the hammer. And it has a slight AoE. So does the ground pound, actually. I forgot to mention this, but the ground pound has a slight area of effect, which means that it's not just the hitbox itself from the body or the weapon that will cause damage, but also if you're a bit too short of a distance away from it. But that's all there is to this first boss. So if you haven't fought this before, good luck. It might take a few attempts, but it should be fairly easy. Just remember to dodge in time and use this boss to practice it, because it takes a while to wind up some of the attacks. So you have quite clear tells most of the time. And that's really the most important part. If you fail at a boss several times, just remembering the tells, so you know if you're supposed to like dodge forward or dodge to the side, or if you can block or whatever. So that's very normal for Dark Souls to just take a bunch of attempts, and eventually, hopefully, you will learn the moveset enough that you can hopefully just time whatever defense you have. And let's talk about plunging attacks. if you get in a plunging attack, you will do so much damage. Look, we did what, 2 damage last time? Now we do 62 and we did 300 when plunging. When you roll, you have invisibility frames, so if you time a roll perfectly, or quite well anyway, you just won't really get hit. Now, I think the equipment load also affects your invisibility frames, or not so equipment load as it is how much equipment you're wearing in relation to your equipment load. There's a ratio there, and I think if you roll very slowly, good luck fighting this item anyway on your first on your first run. Yeah, so it's always nice to be rolling quickly, because then it will just feel a lot more natural, in my opinion, and you will like time your rolls fairly often and not getting hit. There's a bird's nest here. I don't believe there's a lot to do right now. Just remember that this for later if you want to. I know I won't. No, I might come back and use that actually. But anyway, let's try to leave this accursed place.
Only
Yeah, I mentioned
in the ancient
like a
legends
land
it is
where lords
stated
used to run and like
that one day
be in
an
charge.
undead
I wonder what you
shall
would call a place like that. Like king rule? Nah.
to leave
I guess it was in the
undead
past,
asylum
so kings
pilgrimage
ruled,
to
lords
the land of the ancient lords.
were running.
Lordran.
Oh yeah, that's a good name. Anyway, welcome to Dark Souls for real. Actually, sort of, yeah. I mean, that's the tutorial area. It's still quite difficult. Like, if you're new to the game, obviously you might need a few attempts to beat the Asylum Demon. If you just roll and avoid his attacks, I didn't show all the attacks he could do, but there will be a bio before all the bosses to go over them very, well, not even briefly, just as much as I can think of, I guess. Obviously I'm using stats and information from the Dark Souls wiki, and I will do as much research as I can. Like, in some moderation, I guess. Now, that message said in Lordran you can level up and kindle at bonfires. I was going to do this in the next episode, but I guess I'll do this now. Because I did mention all the stats already, and they don't really matter until now when you can start leveling up. And now you will be able to level up at bonfires. So you can actually press a certain button and you will just find out what all these categories mean. Total souls in possession, souls are very useless but are left behind at the spot of one's death. Required souls for level up and boost one parameter. So for each level up, you will be able to put 1 point in one stat. So vitality, like I said, increases hit points, and I think every stat actually increases your defenses. So regardless of what you're leveling up, you will increase in defenses. Now, like I said, resistance isn't super useful. I mean, you could if you want to, but people often say not to because it's not really worth it. There are a lot of other ways to just improve resistances in general, like wearing certain armor, like certain rings are good. Like, well, the starting ring I chose won't do anything like that, but there are other rings in the game. But I haven't really decided what I will do with my character, and I have really a lot of leeway here, so I can do a lot, like whatever I want really. I guess I will make a strength build, and let's increase endurance as well, just to help with my rolling a bit. Now this probably won't be enough. Okay, we're still rolling fast with that though. Night leggings? No. I mean, it's better. Now, Firelink Shrine has a lot to offer, and I will go over that in the next episode. I kind of need to go to bed. And yeah, there's some stuff to talk about, like this flask being 10 now. Yeah, I'll go over that in the next episode. Man. Thank you for watching. I hope I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Let's see, I can wave. Bye-bye.